चक्षुः सुभगावहन्ति श्वेतं नयन्ति सुदृशीतमश्वम् पूषा अदर्शिरश्मिभिर्व्यक्ता चित्रामथा विश्वमनुप्रभूता।
So just coming back to the present moment, connecting with our breath, bringing the mind home in the body. So we were reading Rishabhchand's book, In the Mother's Light, and the topic that we were reading and reflecting upon was desire, conquest of desire. And today I think we have to take up this page. What is desire? Yeah, it's quite a long one, so we'll just read a bit by bit. We'll continue rereading, and then we share our reflections, or if there are any questions we can take. Yeah, so if anyone would like to read what is desire, this bit, the bit which is highlighted, please unmute and go ahead.
When inorganic matter evolves out of the indeterminate flux of the primal energy of the inconscient, there begins, in the dance of the released atoms, a rhythmic swing characterized by the dual movement of attraction and repulsion. The atoms combine and separate, aggregate and disaggregate, to an inscrutable force operating in them. That force is a blind hunger, immeasurable, unquenchable. It is an urge implanted. In the center of every atom towards individual growth, development, expansion, and expression. It is a mysterious, irrepressible urge which makes each atom draw towards itself. Only those atoms which can help its growth and repel or draw away from those which are likely to be harmful or hampering. It is a marvelous automatic action making for the rhythm which regulates the stupendous movements of the material universe. In organic matter, this urge assumes a more distinct and definite form. Life in its first manifestation appears to be a heaving sea of hunger and richly deserves the vivid Upanishadic epithet. Life is hunger, which is death. Individual life feeding on other lives in order to maintain and aggrandize itself, feeding and being fed upon by the contending lives. This is the spectacle that presents itself to our view behind the apparent birth and death of living matter.
Thank you. So I think when you were reading, I realized this bit we had touched upon, the bit that you were reading. And last time we were discussing, there was a break, so I couldn't remember where we left last. Where when everything plunges into the inconscient, the light has become dark. You know, what the story of creation that mother shares, and I'm sure many of us may know about it, that how when the creator manifested out of himself the power of Aditi, you know, Shakti, the divine mother, and the divine mother was given the task of creation, you know, that you create and you create the manifestation. The divine mother out of herself uh, gave out four powers, and mother shares this story of creation. She puts it in a very simplified form, that these four powers came out from the Shakti or the divine mother, and all of them were given the task to create, you know, to manifest. And all of them, जैसे बात करते हैं कि आप if you give money to somebody, like to buy say bread, you know, you give your child money, 10 rupees or 20 rupees, that okay, go buy some bread and milk or whatever. And when the guy goes, he realizes that now the parent as if is not watching me, and then he makes use of that money in whatever ways that he wants to make. And you know, it's like he makes, it's like licentiousness, you know, like the parent is not watching, so you will do whatever you would like. So mother says that that is what happened initially in the story of creation, that these four powers, and if I'm correct, remembering it correctly, and please those of us who remember correct me, first power was bliss, which upturned because of separation from the source, the parent, and bliss became suffering. ट्रूथ बिकेम फॉल्सहुड, जैसे अपने पेरेंट्स से वो डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया, ट्रूथ बिकेम फॉल्सहुड, ब्लिस बिकेम सफरिंग, light became darkness, and the counterpart of, I think, immortality became mortality. And that is why we have in our life all these things. We see suffering in our life, right? We see death in our life, we see darkness in our life, although there are bits and pieces of light also, but we will come to that later. So everything turned its opposite because of the disconnect from the parent. Then mother says that as if you know, the creators realize that something has happened which should not have happened, and now we have to save the creation. So to save the creation, mother said that okay, the divine or the mother said that I am going to enter the creation so that the creation can be brought towards its source, which is light, again. So mortality can become immortality, suffering can now become bliss, and you know, for example, hate will become love, and just all the opposites that we live with, you know, and darkness will turn into light. And for that, the divine went deep into that darkness which was there, and something in there started to move, that gave it life. Because death, you know, it's like nothing is moving, and now there is some movement. And last time we had read a few lines from Savitri. Something in the darkness moved, dissatisfied, not knowing where it wanted to go. You know, we have these lines in Savitri where there is this original urge which was implanted so that the inverted manifestation can now move towards light. And in us human beings, we have a very, it's like a very alive form of that light which is given to us, that we are not very happy with our unhappiness. Something in us knows that this is not it. You know, we always want to move towards light. So that's something in us which is given to us, which is planted in us. One can say psychic being, soul spark, or whatever. You know, that is what was implanted so that the creation can now move towards what is actually it was supposed to do. So there, right now, what we were reading here, we see that how I think here we have to see also in the context of story of creation. I will share it on the group also in the words of the mother. I have just paraphrased it. Their mother says that because everything became dark, so something came, and that something will now take everything towards light. So that's why the movement is there, where you were reading, there is in the in indeterminate flux of the primal energy of the inconscient, there begins in the dance of the released atoms a rhythmic swing. Something begins to move, separate, aggregate, and then we were talking about how it gets attracted to something which is helping and resists that which is not helping. That is what we see in our own selves also. That which helps us make an individuality, we go towards that, and we get repelled from what we don't resonate with. So that helps us develop a temporary personality or individuality. So this we had already touched upon, but I just got reminded of story of creation by the mother, so I thought I'll share. Yes. So anything here before we move next? Anyone? Yeah. So now we are going to read how in inanimate matter. So for example, you look at a plant. All the plants, mostly all the plants, have a tendency to go towards the sun. A stone does not have that tendency. So that is what we call life. From matter comes life, from life comes mind, and from mind has to come supermind. So life, whenever we use the word life in context of Mother Sri Aurobindo, we are talking about this life which is there after stone consciousness. We have insects or moving things, that moves, that goes towards light. So we see that in plants when life evolves mind. So this now we will, I think, read and then understand slowly. Yeah. If anything is there, we can share. If not, we can go ahead and read the next bit. Yes, anyone who would like to read?
Yeah, I will read it. When life evolves mind, this hunger becomes desire, a conscious craving, an insistent longing to seize and possess and enjoy what one feels one lacks. No individual life at this stage of evolution can progress without this propelling force of desire. It is the sole motive force that neutralizes to a considerable extent the constant gravitational pull towards inertia and disintegration on the one hand, and creates the conditions and designs the contours of the future out of an indeterminate mass of possibilities on the other. Desire dominates and directs the movements of life, springing from hidden sources which man does not care to explore, but stinging him into incessant action, physical, vital, and mental. Desire leads him through whatever defeats and detours, struggles and sufferings, to an increasing development of his individuality and an efficient functioning of his awakened faculties. A desire is an energy, a creative and formative energy, which does not lie idle in us, but either on our conscious or subconscious level is always busy trying to bring about its own fulfillment. Even when we repress it, it does not disappear out of existence, but only sinks underground, and ferments and works there. biding its time for a fresh outburst and self-satisfaction. It can wait there long, very long indeed, if our will is strong and alert enough to prevent its reoccurrence. And we may lay the
I think function.
function and we may lay the function to our hearts that we have got rid of it for good and all. But that would be a sheer self delusion, liable to be shattered someday in this life or the next.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's not function, maybe it's unction
Can
only, some new word,
yeah.
है ना, कुछ नया word लग रहा है. I'm not aware of it. Yeah. So maybe we can, if anybody can just maybe see what's the meaning of it, unction.
It says unction is the is a treatment with a medicinal oil or ointment, or
Oh,
another meaning is um, it is the action of someone with oil or ointment as a religious rite or as a symbol of investiture as a
okay, okay. So it's like, something like malham लगा देते हैं ना कि we may just put a layer on our hearts कि हमारा हो गया, we have got rid of desire. ठीक है, ठीक है. Thank you. Yeah, wonderful. So it's very interesting, when life evolves mind. So life is there in, say for example, animals or carnivorous plants, even general plants, they also have life. They want to, when they are hungry, their roots are drawing all that they need from the soil, and then the leaves and everything is drawing all that they need from the air and from the sun, right? So that is hunger, that is keeping them alive. But when it, and in case of animal also, when he is hungry, when the animal is hungry, he goes and eats. There is a lack that he feels, he goes and eats. But when it goes to a higher level of mind, then it becomes a desire. This is what we see in human beings. Hunger is anyway there in plants also. Hunger is there in animals also. And hunger is there in human beings also. Not only physical hunger, khane wala hunger, general hunger, a lack, sense of lack. So when life evolves mind, this hunger becomes desire. This is what we see. क्योंकि mind को जब एक कोई चीज मिल जाती है, तो हम क्या करते हैं? We, all of us do that, we think about it and then we want to repeat it. कि अच्छा वो खाया था, वो बहुत अच्छा था, वो बहुत टेस्टी था, वो वहां जाके फिर से खाना है. So it has become into a desire. It was once hunger, but now it is not innocent anymore. It wants to repeat itself because of the presence of the mind. So when life evolves mind, this hunger becomes desire, a conscious craving, that I am wanting it consciously. कि चाहिए, or then I go ahead and fulfill it, right? An insistent longing to seize and possess and enjoy what one feels one lacks. Very beautiful. This we see very practically in our lives. जहां पे हमको एक बार हैप्पीनेस मिल जाती है, माइंड उसको याद करता है और फिर क्रेव करता है और फिर हम उसको फिर से करना चाहते हैं. All of us do that. No individual life at this stage of evolution, half in ignorance and little bit of light, this ordinary stage of existence, no individual life at this stage of evolution can progress without this propelling force of desire. So this is where Sri Aurobindo says in Thoughts and Aphorisms, desire is the helper and desire is the bar. How desire is the helper? That if there is no desire, why will I even go out of my house? Why will I build a house? Why will I earn money? Why will I learn a talent or a skill? It's only desire that propels us in the state of egoistic consciousness. कि मुझे कुछ करना है, I want to make my name, or I want to, I have a desire of maybe learning how to cook things nicely. Even that can also be called as a desire. We can of course turn it into aspiration, but how we progress, so this is our way of progressing. तो उससे क्या होता है, मुझे नए नए तरीके की चीजें पता लगती हैं. If I have a desire of going around the globe and visiting all the countries. I explore things. I get to learn about so many countries and cultures, and then it adds on to my individuality, and I learn, I grow as consciousness. So he says no individual life at this stage of evolution can progress without this propelling force of desire. कि आपको propel कर रहा है कि इच्छा हुई और इच्छा की वजह से आपने वो काम किया. It is the sole motive force that neutralizes to a considerable extent the constant gravitational pull towards inertia and disintegration on the one hand, and creates the condition and designs the contours of the future out of an indeterminate mass of possibilities on the other. So दो चीजों की बात की गई है. So what is it keeping us away from? It is keeping us away from total dullness and inertia. कि कुछ नहीं कर रहे लाइफ में, बर्बाद. कोई इच्छा ही नहीं है, कुछ उठते ही नहीं है, सुबह नहाते धोते नहीं है, कुछ सीखने नहीं जाते, कोई स्किल नहीं लर्न करते, कोई अच्छी बुक नहीं पढ़ते, है ना. So it is like it helps us, presence of desire helps us not to go down into that darkness of inertia and disintegration. It also on the other hand helps us कि जो infinite possibilities हैं जो हम learn कर सकते हैं, उसमें से मेरा क्या permutation combination है जो मैं learn करना चाहता हूँ. And that is what we say swabhava. What are my natural inclinations? You may be attracted towards social service. Not everyone may be. Somebody may be attracted towards learning music, not social service or interactions with lots of people, right? So that is, वो मुझे लेके जाता है my limited possibilities in which I can nurture and foster myself out of mass of infinite possibilities. So this is what is the motive of the desire right now in ignorant consciousness, to prevent us from inertia and to take us towards a channelized growth. Desire at any point, please unmute and share, otherwise I just go ahead. Desire dominates and directs the movements of life, springing from hidden sources which man does not care to explore, but stinging him into incessant action. So it's like a sting, कि आपको कीड़ा हो रहा है, कि आपको ये करना है, नहीं मुझे जाके ये सीखना है. क्यों? क्योंकि इच्छा हो रही है. So desire dominates and directs the movements of life, springing from hidden sources. We don't know why we have that desire, but we have it. मन कर रहा है कि जाके कहीं सोशल सर्विस करनी है, मन कर रहा है कहीं जाके मे बी ड्राइविंग सीखनी है, मन कर रहा है, इसे हम कहते हैं ना मन कर रहा है. So springing from hidden sources which man does not care to explore. Otherwise I would not care if not for the ichha that I have. But stinging him into incessant action, physical, vital and mental. And even when so-called, when we fall into these lustful romantic love, even that kind of love, which is a lower kind of love, but we all go through it. There also it's the desire to meet the person or to have a connection with the person that makes us get up in the morning, take a shower, get dressed, look at our face in the mirror, and then we go ahead and meet somebody, right? It's desire, but it making me move, stinging him into incessant action, physical, vital, mental. Desire leads him through whatever defeats and detours, struggles and sufferings. This we see very much in human kind of love. आप अपने बच्चे के लिए कुछ भी करते हो, कितना भी आपको फॉल हो रहा हो, ऑब्स्टिकल हो रहा हो, you will go as much as you can to provide for your child, or to even in these kind of loveful relationships that we call, there आपको कितनी भी दिक्कत हो रही हो, आपको 80 किलोमीटर दूर जाना हो किसी को मिलने, आप जितना भी पेट्रोल खर्च कर रहे हो, आप करोगे और जाओगे. So it leads him through whatever defeats, detours and struggles and sufferings to an increasing development of his individuality and an efficient functioning of his awakened faculties. तो अब मैं अगर उठूंगी किसी से मिलने, मुझे जाना है, तो मैं of course if I am driving or if I am taking a bus or buying a ticket or tram or whatever, my faculties are awakened. I'm making the use of intellect, I'm making the use of my mind. Dullness is not there because I have to meet, I have to go, I have to travel. So that is what is the temporary purpose. Desire is an energy, a creative and formative energy, which does not lie idle in us, but either on our conscious or subconscious level is always busy trying to bring about its own fulfillment. कि अच्छा अब ये वाली कार तो खरीद ली, अब नेक्स्ट क्या खरीदना है, अब ये घर यहाँ पे सेटल हो गया, अब मुझे नेक्स्ट क्या करना है ना, नेक्स्ट पे ले जाती है वो हमको डिजायर. It always pushes us forward, doesn't let us be self satisfied. एक नेम कमा लिया तो दूसरा नेम चाहिए, एक अवार्ड हो गया तो अब दूसरे के पीछे. So even when it is that kind of a desire that helps us in propelling forward, even when we repress it, it does not disappear out of existence. So you may be thinking that, oh, this is a desire and I have to really not, listen to it. You are suppressing it, you are not listening to its commands. But it's only sinking underground and ferments and works there, biding its time for a fresh outburst and self-satisfaction. तभी कबीर जी कहते हैं, मन को मृतक जान के मत कीजिए विश्वास, साधु जब तक भय करे तब जब तक पिंजर में सांस. So he says you have to be vigilant as long as you have breath in the body, because it is always lurking around the corner. Don't ever think that you have become desireless, because then you lose vigilance and you're gone, down the slippery slope. Happens with all of us time to time. It can wait there long, very long indeed, if our will is strong and alert enough to prevent its recurrence, and we may lay the unction to our hearts, like what we were reading, like an ointment we are giving to our hearts, saying that we have got rid of it for good and all. Just because it is just under the covers does not mean that we have got rid of it. So that's something like bed bugs. If some of us have experience of bed bugs, they can lie dormant for about 6-7 months. And even if one is remaining in your house and your house has been cleaned of bed bugs once with disinfection, even if one is remaining, the moment it gets a chance in those 6 months, anytime, it can begin to, come out and do its work. So that's how, something like that. So that would be a sheer self-delusion that I've gotten rid of desire, liable to be shattered someday in this life or next. This is what we carry with ourselves, the desire self. This we carry. And that is why mystics have said that if you have to die to your desires in this life, because you carry it forward. So if we will not confront them in this very life and really transcend them practically, physically, in the body, we have to change the station of consciousness, not working from the desire soul anymore. Very, very vigilant all the time. We will have falls. All of us have falls. But again, jumping up and springing up into action, not identifying with the desire self in us, which is always craving. Something or the other it craves. So we disidentify from that throughout our life. It's a constant vigilant practice. Otherwise, if not in this life, we have to deal with it in the next life. Kabhi na kabhi to karna hai. So the best use of life is that deal with it right away. In this very life, be vigilant. And whenever we are under the influence of the desired self, we can recognize it. A life becomes very painful. It gives us suffering. Whenever we are identified with the craving self, it gives us a lot of limitation and suffering, lots of darkness. So if we can again cry out to the divine or become mindful that what am I, oh sorry, I got lost, and bring ourselves back to the moment, here breathing in this moment, I'm completely okay, I'm nothing wrong with me. So when we bring ourselves fully, the mind, to the present moment, then it really, really helps to let go of all the past, future, and the cravings and everything that suffocate us. That's why teachings of mindfulness are very helpful. Like Thich Nhat Hanh, Jetsunma, Tenzin Palmo, other Buddhist teachings, because they bring us back to the present moment. Yeah, so anything on this, anyone?
I had a question. When you become a little desireless, like I've noticed that when there's a lot of inward focus, and I think, okay, all of this is not important, and um, when you do not engage with the things that are, catching your attention, and you become a little more desireless, I find myself very inert. Um, and I wonder what this is. Like it almost feels like you're so depressed or low, or like, and I don't understand whether that transformation is good or bad. Like I start questioning myself.
नहीं, ये बहुत अच्छा point है. This Shirobindo actually answers in Letters on Yoga. I will share few bits with you on the group also. So see, usually what is happening, we are living as identified with the desire self, with the vital, emotional self की एकदम से एक्साइटेड भी हो जाते हैं, बट वो पूरी नहीं होती तो एकदम से डिसअपॉइंटेड भी हो जाते हैं, है ना. तो यूजुअली वी आर लिविंग लाइक आइडेंटिफाइड विद दैट. नाउ व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इज दैट you are stepping back from the vital for now, right now, because you have to gain a greater poise within your being of the witness. So you are stepping back from the vital. When we are stepping back from the vital, what happens is that vital is the one which is giving us enthusiasm in life. तो ये जो आपने नोटिस किया डिप्रेशन वाला, like feeling a little like ठीक ही तो है, like a little bit of dullness and kind of not really vigor in life. It is a passing phase, because right now you have stepped back from that vital, which is actually giving us all the energy. We become so energetic when some function has to happen, things that we like, चाट पकौड़ी खाएंगे, जो भी हमें अच्छा लगता है ना. So that enthusiasm is coming from vital. But now when the consciousness is stepping back from mind, vital and the body, there comes a phase in between, which is this inertness that you are feeling. That as if कि कोई charm नहीं है, vigor नहीं है, वो नहीं है, bubble नहीं है life में. And that's only because you're stepping back, you stepped back from the vital a little bit. But that's not it. It's just a passing phase, and all of us have to go through it. Sri Aurobindo says that's what we see in Letters on Yoga, that the moment you gain a stable consciousness in the witnessing poise and also a connection with the divine more and more, तो फिर क्या होता है, फिर वो जब vital turns to the divine. अभी देखो क्या हो रहा है, अभी हमारा vital turn था human relationships की तरफ, और सारी एनर्जी उसको वहां से मिल रही थी. फ्रेंड से मिल रहे हैं, बड़े एंथुजियास्टिक हैं. फ्रेंड से नहीं मिल रहे, थोड़े से डिसअपॉइंटेड है ना. तो अब क्या हो रहा है, अब हम उसको वो सारा खाना पीना नहीं दे रहे जो पहले उसको हम दे रहे थे, है ना. अब जैसे उससे वो छिना तो उसको लगा है मेरी लाइफ में तो कुछ बचा ही नहीं जैसे. बट होना क्या है एक्चुअली में, दिस वाइटल हैज टू टर्न फुली टू द डिवाइन. अभी वो सोर्स को फुली टर्न नहीं किया. इट्स अ पासिंग फेज. इट हैज डिटैच्ड फ्रॉम द ऑयली फूड, but it has not given itself the full nutrition that has to come from the intimate connection with the divine source. So in the middle there is a phase where you have this inertness and dullness, and it's, according to Sri Aurobindo, it's a passing phase, and it's a good sign that at least you are stepping back from those things which now are not really important, and they actually pull us down only and make us more attached. So it's a good sign. It's a progress in our path. And very soon, the more we cling to the divine, because we are all sticky, we have to cling somewhere. The more we cling to the divine as source of all our nutrition, we get back that vigor without any sticky spots. That vigor has to come back. Yeah. So it's very relevant, yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, anything more here, anyone?
So should I be then, because right now I'm looking so dull because of that. So um so how do I bring out that figure again? Because I'm missing it, it feels a bit unhappy in this stage.
Yes.
So should I be just engaging in my regular activities, or should I be praying more? So how do I connect to the divine? Should I be meditating more
I
to
think
make myself?
everything.
Okay.
That's what in integral education or mother's yoga we see, everything is important. physical work is important. Everyone was given some work in the department. अच्छा तुम यहाँ पे काम करो, तुम वहाँ पे काम करो, है ना? तो physical work, social work or whatever, even your regular work is very important, with done with a good attitude that you want to benefit whoever you want to interact with, है ना? तो एक तो वो तो रहना ही है आम, otherwise depression will come, right? We can sink into this phase also if we don't turn to the divine. Parallelly, what you were sharing, praying and meditating also is very important. I think the moment we slip, many a times we form our disciplines. I have seen it with myself, that we form a discipline, then we forget it, and then again we are in darkness. Why? Because we forgot about the discipline. So some kind of the discipline is very important. Detaching, mindfulness, breathing, coming back, bringing back the mind to the body, again and again bringing ourselves to the present moment, not engaging much in the thoughts here and there, bringing ourselves to the present moment. That plus praying to the divine and finding the divine in the heart, that intimate relationship with the divine, that for you I am living, for you are the reason of my existence, and for you I serve, and for you I live. So connecting deeply with that inner immanent divine, because that is what brings us back the fountain of vigor. तो अब आपको डिजायर नहीं है, बट आपके पास वो जॉय भी है ना? तो दैट जॉय हैज टू कम बैक, बिकॉज देयर इज नो पॉइंट, इट्स जस्ट अ passing phase, this inertness or dullness. So make all these things that you were sharing are very relevant. Some kind of physical work, manual work, physically engaging yourself somewhere, and then praying, meditating, in whatever activities of the day, remembering the mother or the divine that you resonate with, offering those activities with to the divine, remember and offer. So with that, we automatically, a joy comes in the being. Automatically, you're not doing anything to find joy, but you are just making that connection stronger, है ना? वो लाइव वायर है, वो लाइव वायर होती है, तो फिर हमको जरूरत नहीं पड़ती बैटरीज की तब जरूरत पड़ती है जब लिमिटेड है कैपेसिटी. When we plug ourselves into the AC connection, then we have the electricity. So that plugging within us is very important.
Thank you for that. Because yesterday, then eventually I started doing a few yoga asanas and everything, and I felt much more charged, and I think I have to learn how to use that remainder of the time that I'm not pursuing my desires into something more constructive.
Yes. Yes.
Because that fill up did not happen for me, and that is why I think it pulled my energies down. So we have to replace that empty time with something more meaningful. And then when I did a little exercise, and I think yoga is so good like that, like it gets that stability back into your system. It just made me much more stable.
बिल्कुल, yes. So this vital energy that we were talking, the right use of it is what you just shared actually. Channelizing into something of beauty. क्योंकि अगर उसको हम सही जगह पे चैनलाइज नहीं करेंगे तो फिर ये उल्टी पुल्टी इमोशनल टर्मोइल्स एंड एवरीथिंग देयर इट गेट्स इन्वॉल्व्ड. एनर्जी तो एनर्जी है ना, अब कहीं ना कहीं तो जाएगी. अब वो शरारतें नहीं कर रही तो अब क्या करेगी? दैट्स द क्वेश्चन. दैट्स व्हाट यू वर शेयरिंग, कि हाउ टू फिल दैट एम्प्टी टाइम विद समथिंग कंस्ट्रक्टिव. तो पहले वो बच्चा क्या था? बहुत नोटी था. लेट्स से द वाइटल, वेरी नोटी. नाउ ऑल द नोटी एक्टिविटीज इट हैज विथड्रू फ्रॉम. चुपचाप, लेकिन चुपचाप तो बैठ नहीं सकता क्योंकि एनर्जी है, बबलिंग विद एनर्जी. अब हमें उसको क्या देना है? हमने उसको अच्छी एक्टिविटीज देनी है कि अच्छा तू ना हॉर्स राइडिंग कर, समथिंग चैलेंजिंग, एंड दैट वुड बी फॉर ईच वन ऑफ अस, दैट वुड बी डिफरेंट. दैट इज वेयर कम्स द स्वभावा एंड स्वधर्मा. दैट आपके लिए वो जो चीज है वो मेरे लिए अलग हो सकती है ना? आपको हो सकता है मन करे कि अच्छा मैं जाके कहीं गार्डनिंग हो रही है तो मैं गार्डनिंग में अपना मैनुअल हाथ करके काम करूं. मेरे लिए हो सकता है कि मैं कहीं जाऊं और बर्तन मांजूं, व्हाटएवर, है ना? टू ईच हिज ओन. So that is where the for somebody it can be learning music, refining music, instrument, creating something with your hands, some handicrafts or some painting or whatever. So all that vital energy, which usually becomes very restless and like a naughty child, that has to be channelized into these good, aesthetically good directions. क्योंकि कुछ ना कुछ तो हमको करना है. And that is where we begin to nurture and foster our individuality, where we constructively channel them. So yes, very, very relevant. Some people write, writing poetry, reading, writing, drawing, sketching, all these are these vital engagements. तो ये अच्छे वाले टेस्ट हैं कि पहले तो ऑयली खाते थे, गॉसिप या इधर उधर की चैटिंग या अपनी पुरानी चीजें रिपीट करे जा रहे हैं फ्रेंड्स को, है ना. अब उसमें इंटरेस्ट नहीं रहा, तो अब ये दीज आर द, दिस इज लाइक बॉइल्ड फूड, हेल्दी फूड दैट वी हैव टू गिव. या एनीथिंग मोर, एनीवन हियर? Okay, so we can maybe move ahead a little. Yeah, this much we have done. Let's take one more paragraph, and for today I think this should be enough. Yes, anyone would like to read?
Yeah, Monica, I'll read.
Yes, please.
Yeah. The ego in the individual thrives on desires. It is finite. Individualized consciousness cuts itself off from others and makes it concentrate on its own growth and gratification. Thus, divided and limited, the individual in his ignorance desires the objects which attract it and, impelled by desire, struggles to possess them. Human life on the surface is this struggle, the ceaseless seeking and striving after the objects which, being finite and fugitive, are unable to give anything like a full and abiding satisfaction to the soul. But though desire acts in the beginning and for a long while as a lever by which life lifts itself out of the lower bog and advances towards fresh gains and conquests, yet a stage arrives in this evolutionary advance when the compelling tyranny of desire and the struggle and suffering it entails become too acutely disquieting to be borne. Desire then reveals itself in its true colors as the greatest obstacle to the further progress. That which worked as a lever appears now as an insufferable fever, a futile fret, and a mounting frustration. It is more and more clearly perceived by the individual that desires are endless, and endless the uneasiness they cause. Uneasiness and anxiety in the pursuit of them, uneasiness and anxiety in the insecure enjoyment of their fleeting satisfaction, and uneasiness, exasperation, or corroding grief in their frustration. They allow no repose or peace or a calm. A dispassionate view of the meaning of goal of life. They lash and drive man on a vicious circle. They bar his passage into the eternity and infinity of the spirit. Beautiful. And Monica, here I have a doubt. Actually, we all have desires.
Yes.
Either for food or for clothes or anything, money or etc. But many a times we do not know we have a very strong desire. So unless we just step back and think about, what we desire or what we attract or what we want, we will not be able to find out.
No, you will be able to find out. You don't have to think about it. We are able to find out through life situations, no?
But many, see, in our family also I've seen, like a baby wants a chocolate. So many people want so many things. If anybody sees one sari, they want to buy that sari immediately.
Yeah.
And they buy, keep on accumulating it. One of our family member, whatever she sees in the Facebook or this one, any advertisement comes, she will buy.
Right.
Whatever is the item. But the house is full of all these things now. But she does not know she is having the desire.
Yeah, so actually we can't talk about anybody else. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because now, just like you have arrived at a juncture, that's what we were reading in this paragraph, that one arrives at that juncture where you realize that this is futile running that I am doing. So she has to herself arrive at that juncture. है ना? अभी उसका every soul is in a different stage of progression.
Okay.
है ना? So we can't force this to anyone. है ना? Yeah. So for example, these words that you are understanding and making sense to all of us right now, if we see 10 or 20 years ago, they would not have been making sense.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Why are they making sense right now? Because now, through life experiences, we have come to a point where we have either suffered enough through all those desires, what you were reading just now, that they make us so uneasy that you realize ki bhaiya, I can't just go on like that anymore. Pleasure is pleasure. I know that pleasure comes, but when pain comes, it becomes unbearable. So one has to arrive at that juncture. So she also, in her own growth in life, maybe in this life, maybe in another, who knows? She has to arrive herself at that juncture that she realizes that, oh my God, what I have been doing all these years. Enough.
So we are nobody in their journey, right?
We can't really know. We have such little view that we are really nobody to comment.
Yeah.
And this is one of the first points that Mother shares in 11 points towards the psychic being when she shares on education. If you would remember, maybe that mind is unable to judge spiritual things, so it should keep away from that. Yeah. Even our own journey, we can't judge. We can see, we are a witness, we can see, observe, but judging, when we begin to make conclusions about it and to believe in those conclusions कि जो मैं सोच रही हूँ वो सही है, that is where we go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. See, when can we turn this desire into positive, helper of our growth?
Yes, I think that's what. So, in the meantime, it was a progressive thing for us. Like we did not know how to really work if not for desire. So we had several kinds of desire. They made us move. So because of those desires, you learned music, you got married, and through marriage, you had several experiences which make you grow in consciousness, right? So these are the experiences which are happening so far. Now we are coming in this paragraph to a stage where desire becomes a bar, not a helper anymore. So this is a stage that we have to come to. We can't force this to. मान लो, if anyone, like you were sharing, that somebody is very shopaholic or whatever, you can't force it that, oh, see, you should not have detachments. Just why are you bringing all these things in you don't even know tomorrow you are there or not. What will you do with so much of accumulated stuff? That thing will be nothing. That from one year it will come and from the other it will go for that person, because for now, for that person, it is not important. It becomes important for such a person who realizes that, oh my God, why am I having so much of pain in my life? Why? That person will now turn his thing towards away from desire, and maybe at the root of his suffering, which is desire.
So this goes for everything.
Yes, everything means?
Everything means, see that person is keeping on buying things. You cannot go and tell them. So if somebody is doing some other thing, you cannot go and tell them.
Yes.
So this is a very, very strong point that you cannot change it. You cannot go and tell anyone.
Yes.
Don't try to change, but not even, it's a good advice for me.
Yeah, it is actually. And mother says, that's why mother says all the time, if you see, you must have read many letters of the sadhaks. Mother says, all the difficulties lie within you. जो भी आप बाहर के बारे में कमेंट कर रहे हो, वो आप अपने अंदर देखो. To all, mostly, you will see that to all people, mother has said कि अपने काम से आप मतलब रखिए, क्योंकि अपने अंदर बहुत काम बचा है. Stop thinking and commenting and judging on other people's lives. This gives us a lot of purity in the being.
When our child does this, then how should we react?
I think at times we can see that children are not receptive anymore. So if the child is not receptive, if he has become an individual and he says that, "Nahin, I will decide what I have to do with my life," what can you do really? Apart from the fact that you just keep invoking the mother, that may mother guide the child also towards light. What can we do? We can't. If the child, usually what happens between parents and children at one phase of life comes where the child has a wall, especially with regards to the parent. And I think it's a passing phase, because that's where the individuality begins to develop. That अब मैं आपकी नहीं सुनूंगा, अब मैं अपनी करूंगा. That rebellion comes. It is a passing phase. Didn't all of us go through these phases? You remember? That I don't want to, parents may be right, we may have respect for the parents, but I want to explore what my heart is saying. All of us have done that.
After certain, so just now I was mentioning about one family member. In their family, the child of 5 years is behaving this way.
Yeah.
Whatever he wants, he has to get it.
Yes.
That's why, see, once after a point, it's okay. You can leave for children. But at the tender age of 5 to 6, I used to wonder why they keep on buying things for the child.
Yeah.
Every day buying one eraser or something else.
Yeah. I think that's what, that's now a different matter. I didn't know the age. So here, as mother says that as parents, if we are not working on ourselves, we pass several atavisms to children.
Sorry, what is it?
Atavisms, like patterns of behavior.
Okay.
We have already passed them. Some have come through genes. And not only genes, but our subtle consciousness. Mother says to that extent, prenatal consciousness, when mother talks about it, that each thought, each feeling that you are having, I wish actually I would know that earlier, but I didn't. Each thought, each feeling is impressed upon the child's consciousness when the mother is mother is carrying the child. Now imagine what all we have done to our children. So all this the child carries. Also, if the parent is, it's easy to give the child something rather than to, listen him cry for 1 hour. So that also depends a lot on now this becomes the context of parenting. One has to parent well. And how much of we are able to parent well? We are not. It's very easy. We have money, you buy something and the child will be quiet. But then that thing becomes, I am the center of the world and why are you not getting me that? That comes. You can't help it. It is us. It is our failure that has spoiled the child in many cases. I'm not saying that this could be the particular case, but in many cases it's our failure.
Yeah. There should be some answer.
Yeah.
This is the answer. Correct. Thank you. Maybe I deviated a bit.
Sorry. No, not at all. But it's very context to context based, and parenting is not, if we really want to do parenting consciously, it is not an easy task. And I feel, many times myself and Taru, we used to talk about it, that parenting के पहले, and not only parenting के पहले, before you become a parent, even before you think of getting married, actually there should be proper एक degree होनी चाहिए, मुझे लगता है, a course, education should happen. We have no education, we just plunge into it. We plunge into marriage, we plunge into having a baby. We ourselves are a child when we are having a baby. What will we teach the child? हमें यही नहीं पता कि मेरी एक एक थॉट का उस पे बच्चे पे इंप्रेशन है. मदर सेज, आई वाज एक्चुअली, इट gave me goosebumps when I first read it. She said that the moment of conception, whatever consciousness the parents have, it gets imprinted on the child. It's like a stamp. And now you have to work through the whole life. You have to erase that stamp if it's not a good stamp. Imagine. And we don't know this. Everybody is having children. Everybody is getting married. We don't know this. So there should be actually a degree or an education or whatever, about how to do it consciously, all of it. And then those of us who now feel ready, acha, this is what it entails, and now I am feeling ready for it, then we should plunge into it, or we will choose other directions, maybe not. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. We just do it so ignorantly. Everything we do it ignorantly, and then we suffer actually.
For the whole life.
Yeah. And if parenting is done, see, अगर मैंने शादी consciously नहीं करी, तो मैं spouse से तड़पूंगी. Right? If I was unconscious, I was just desiring, and there was no conscious connect, I will tadup later, have suffering later. Then later on, my spiritual inclinations will come. We will deviate from each other. Why? Because there is no connection anymore. It was a physical connection, now it has gone away. And then even then, uski baat bhi chhod do. Now again, the moment of conception, I don't know why I am having a child, what kind of a child I want. Mostly our children happen through desire. We are just having lust and children happen. All of us know that.
True.
अब आप पूरे लाइफ भर वो बच्चे पे जो वो स्टैंप लगी हुई है उसको आप इरेज करो, फिर आप बोलोगे बच्चा ऐसे नहीं बिहेव कर रहा, वैसे नहीं बिहेव कर रहा. भैया हम क्या थे जब बच्चा पैदा हो रहा था? तो एक्चुअली में देखा जाए तो बड़ी डार्क सी सिचुएशन है, बट देन वी हैव टू अगेन मूव टुवर्ड्स लाइट, knowing that even at any point we can reverse. That's the beauty of it, that we may have done all the errors on the way, bad marriage, bad relationship, bad way of having children, everything has happened. Even now, if I turn toward the divine and turn towards light, even now things can change. That's the beauty. So there is never too late. Mother says it's neither too late and never too early. See, she has the both things. You could have started early, she says, but since you did not start early, it's never too late. Chalo, ab to karo. So many blunders we make, really. Many blunders which could have been saved, but somehow did not. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. There is a line in Savitri where it says the treasure is always kept safe for us. So that's the safety point, that whenever we want to turn to the light, no matter how many sins I may have done, I may be a rapist, murderer, terrorist, whatever, choose the worst possible. Even then you can turn to the light and everything is okay. Everything is taken care of. Yes, Jagat.
Yes. Actually, I think there are 2 or 3 books now, ma'am. Education Part 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I never read it, but I grown up listening to it. But my father would, read it for like multiple times, and there are some really wonderful points. I don't know if Sharda ji has access, but it's really beautiful. One of those points, it's not really relevant, but it says that children dream about these unimaginable things, but those should be encouraged and not disregarded. And there are a lot more, so it will be interesting. And coming to the passage, in the end, there is a line which kind of struck me, is that the desire, it actually it doesn't go away entirely, but it's sitting there again, ready to bounce back. Um, yes, that is where. Yeah, and it ferments and works there. I didn't know, I thought there is an end to desire at one point, but that was I just wanted to share that was really interesting, that the the desire becoming a bar, this fight is continuous, like, uh, and also it says about how it can come in this lifetime or next lifetime. So there is also like there is also the mindfulness uh, that needs to ensure it doesn't come up again, because if I'm moving forward, then if it's pulling me back again at any given moment, then that kind of scared me a bit. But again, that's interesting too.
Yes, yes. I think that's why we have to see, uh, जैसे कबीर जी in one of the other couplets he says, माया मरी ना मन मरा, मरमर गए शरीर, आशा तृष्णा ना मरी, कह गए दास कबीर. So he is saying, you think that the body is dead and with that everything is gone, but that's not correct. Na maya marti hai. This is what maya is, that we think that something I will get which will fulfill me completely once for all. माया मरी ना मन मरा, ना आपका मन मर रहा है, द क्रेविंग माइंड, द ईगो माइंड, एंड नाइदर इज द इल्यूजन डिल्यूजन डाइंग, दैट इज नॉट डाइंग. मर गए शरीर, आपकी बॉडी आप त्याग कर रहे हो, एक बॉडी त्याग कर रहे हो, फिर दूसरा जन्म ले रहे हो, फिर दूसरी ले रहे हो, फिर दूसरा जन्म ले रहे हो, राइट? दिस इज व्हाट वी कंटिन्यू विद, बट व्हाट हैज टू बी डेल्ट विद, दैट इज नॉट डाइंग, that desire self, that desire soul. And then in the next line he says, माया मरी न मन मरा, मरमर गए शरीर, आशा तृष्णा ना मरी. Asha is these hopes that we have, these desires that we have, never ending, the lines that you were reiterating, never ending desires and hopes. Asha trishna, thirst, hunger, incessant. Na mari, keh gaye das kabir. So that is what has to be dealt with. And Sri Aurobindo says that why it does not die, because it is the thirst of an incessant being, infinite being. हमारे अंदर जो बैठा है वो डिवाइन है, वो इनफाइनाइट है. तो वो थर्स्ट भी किसका है? वो इनफाइनाइट. भाई छोटा बंदा है तो वो बोलेगा अच्छा छोटा सा गिलास पानी दे दो, डन. लेकिन अगर इनफाइनाइट बीइंग अंदर छुप के बैठा हुआ है तो वो पानी पीता रहेगा लेकिन उसकी प्यास नहीं बुझेगी. So Sri Aurobindo says why it does not get satiated is because it is the thirst or hunger of an infinite being. और वो quench भी कब होगा? When we turn to the infinite. So भगवान से पहले हमको वो contentment नहीं मिल सकती, किसी को भी नहीं मिल सकती. It's like a design ही ऐसा बना हुआ है कि कोई भी दो इंसान आपस में, आपको दूर से दिख रहे होंगे what a happy couple, दूर दूर से हमको अंदाजे लगते हैं ना, फिर हम उस इमेज को फॉलो करते हैं कि मैं भी ऐसा कपल होना चाहता हूँ. बट आप देखोगे कि दे कैन नॉट लाइक ईट ईच अदर एंड बी कंटेंटेड. अगर वो साथ दिख भी रहे हैं, हैप्पी दिख भी रहे हैं ना, अगर ट्रूली एक हैप्पीनेस है, देन बोथ ऑफ देम मस्ट हैव टर्न्ड टुवर्ड्स समथिंग हायर इंडिविजुअली, एंड दैट इज व्हाई दे आर कंटेंट, नॉट इन ईच अदर बट in their own personal lives, content because they are progressing towards something higher. Because वो डिजाइन ही नहीं है, ऐसा डिजाइन ही नहीं बना कि मटेरियल चीजों या इंसानों से हमें तसल्ली हो जाएगी. द डिजाइन इज नॉट लाइक दैट, किसी का भी नहीं हो सकता. तो ये बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है. इट्स लाइक वही जो नेवर एंडिंग की आप बात कर रहे थे. And in Buddhism, they talk about how when we are mindful that, oh, this is arising again and making me agitated, that now it has to be fulfilled, then you look at it. You are seeing its nature and you know that it actually is just like an empty bubble. Haven't I satisfied my desire several number of times earlier also? Has it made me content? So you look at it and you then see its true nature, that it's just like an empty bubble and it does not need to be satiated every time. It does not mean that we can't have, see, for example, if I have an urge to have tea, simplest possible example, or urge to maybe meet a friend, in that moment of urge, if I can step back and not satisfy that urge, and then I can meet that friend later when I'm not having that urge, then it is okay, है ना, क्योंकि आप उसके ऊपर डिपेंडेंट नहीं हो गए कि ओ अर्ज आई है फुलफिल करनी है. So you stepped back from that desire in that moment where it was like taking a big kind of roop in front of you. But in other moment you can have tea, but now you're not craving for it. Sri Aurobindo's example we have of cigar, that he used to smoke cigars, and somebody said, and then later on mother also said that disciples are seeing that you are like doing this. Either mother or somebody had commented on it, and he just left it that moment itself. His being was not dependent on it. He was smoking for the whatever, the delight of it, but it's not that the delight comes only from that addiction. It is not an addiction for him. It's not sticky. So that is what slowly, gradually in our attempts, I feel, we all of us have to do to become non-sticky and yet have the delight also in life with all our interactions and life experiences. So not to shun away those experiences, but not to depend that all the delight I can only have when I have that interaction, and otherwise I have no delight. That should not be the case. Yeah. Anything more over here, anyone? So this paragraph which Sarda ji just read, it's talking about how we come to a stage where the desire feels now uneasy. अभी तक आपको वो अच्छी लग रही थी, अब प्लेजर दे रही थी, है ना, अच्छा लग रहा था, अब वो दर्द दे रही है. I have been personally through many such experiences, very intensely, I can say, suffering and painful, which makes me say that bhaiya bas, please chhod de picha, something like that. So here it says that the ego in the individual thrives on desires. Its finite individualized consciousness cuts itself off from the others and makes it concentrate on its own growth and gratification. कि मेरे को मिल जाए, दूसरे को मिले कि नहीं मुझे उससे मतलब नहीं है, बस मेरे को मिल जाए, this separate self, Thus divided and limited, the individual in his ignorance, and this is ignorance, when I am feeling separate and divisive from each other, like this is me, this little me, and my thirst has to be quenched. This is ignorance. Thus divided and limited, this individual in his ignorance desires the objects which attract it. जो लगता है कि वहां पे मिलेगा कुछ. Impelled by desire, struggles to possess them. क्योंकि ऐसा लगता है कि possess कर लेंगे तो I will have that contentment that I am not having right now. That lack has to be fulfilled. Human life on the surface is this struggle. This ceaseless seeking and striving after the objects which, being finite and fugitive, are unable to give anything like a full and abiding satisfaction to the soul. Kahin nahi mil sakta. It's a collective thing. Nobody ever can get satisfaction in finite things. That is not the design of the universe. But through desire acts in the beginning and for a long while as a lever by which life lifts itself out of the lower bog, which was the inertia. क्योंकि ताकि मैं डल ना हो जाऊं, in inertia ना चला जाऊं, it lifts out itself through desire. Advances towards fresh gains and conquests, yet a stage arrives. This is the stage Sarda ji was talking about, that person. So this is the stage we all of us have to arrive at sooner or later in our life, maybe this life, next life. Yet a stage arrives in this evolutionary advance when the compelling tyranny of desire and the struggle and suffering it entails become too acutely disquieting to be borne. कि अब आपसे सहा नहीं जा रहा जो दर्द आपको डिजायर दे रहा है. Expectations और demands जो आपको दर्द दे रही हैं वो अब आपसे नहीं सहा जा रहा. That stage has to arrive. Desire then reveals itself in its true colors as the greatest obstacle to a further progress. Now we can move step away from the desiring soul. अब हमारा समय आया है. The right moment has come. That so far I was identified with the desire self. Now I can choose to step back. Shri Aurobindo talks about it, when we can become more and more like the witness and withdraw that sanction that we have given us, which makes us suffer. That which worked as a lever appears now as an insufferable fever, a futile fret, and a mounting frustration. It is more and more clearly perceived by the individual that desires are endless, and endless the uneasiness they cause. Uneasiness and anxiety in the pursuit of them. जब आप उनके पीछे भागना पड़ता है, कितना दर्द देती हैं वो. तो अगर वो अभी हमारी लाइफ में वो दर्द नहीं है, तो हम इसको नहीं समझ पाएंगे. ये वही बंदा अभी समझ पाएगा इस पैराग्राफ को जिसकी लाइफ में डिजायरिंग की वजह से दर्द आना शुरू हो गया. So pain is a signal. Uneasiness and anxiety in the pursuit of them. Uneasiness and anxiety in the insecure enjoyment. That you have that enjoyment also, but it's so insecure. And you are meeting a loved one, which you wanted to meet, but you know that this person today is with me, tomorrow he will be after whatever is unfolding of life. So insecure. आज है कल नहीं है. Do I want this? Do I want to be so insecure in myself? That's the question. Anxiety in the insecure enjoyment of their fleeting satisfaction. आज है कल नहीं है. अभी बहुत मजे आ रहे हैं, but कल नहीं आएंगे जब वो बंदा नहीं है आपके आसपास. And uneasiness and exasperation of corroding grief in their frustration. So this is all happens, all of that happens when we are after something कि यहाँ से हमको delight मिले, joy मिले. अभी तो मिल रही है लेकिन कल नहीं मिलेगी, बहुत दर्द होगा, बहुत दर्द होगा. That is why we have to find that joy within, the fountainhead within. They allow no repose or peace or a calm, dispassionate view of the meaning and goal of life. They lash and drive man on a vicious circle. Vicious, गोल 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 गोल. एक पूरी हुई दूसरी, दूसरी पूरी हुई तीसरी, तीसरी पूरी हुई चौथी की चिंता, चौथी पूरी पांचवी की चिंता, गोल 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 गोल. Vicious circle. They bar his passage into the eternity and infinity of the spirit. This is where we read in Savitri beautiful lines where, Savitri is going through that grief and pain and darkness, and she is told by that voice within that no, this is not the way. Go turn towards your light. And she turns, digs within, and then she has to find herself, her soul. And it is dark passage because for a moment you have, है ना, पुराना छूट रहा है, पुरानी डिलाइट छूट रही है जो बाहर से मिलती थी, नई वाली अभी पूरी मिली नहीं है. So we have to go through a passage of darkness. An absolute supernatural darkness falls sometimes on man when he draws closer to God. We all have to go through that. And if we become afraid of that darkness, नहीं चाहिए अभी, then we fall back into older tendencies again, जहाँ पे छोटा मोटा joy भी मिलता है, but वहाँ पे pain भी बहुत मिलता है, दुख दर्द भी बहुत मिलता है. But we keep on doing this pendulum movement for a very long time until we get convinced that नहीं, अब तो आगे बढ़ना पड़ेगा. This is our journey. Yeah, any last comments, anyone? Okay, if not anything, maybe we can take a moment in silence to share and dedicate all the merit that we may have or accumulated today. Like a prasad shared with everybody, may all of us have true joy and peace and progress in our hearts. May we all have the strength to turn totally towards our true consciousness, the source of true joy. May all the suffering go away. May no one suffer. Thank you, everyone. Okay.